and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon everybody. It is 86 degrees Fahrenheit here, 30 degrees centigrade. It's a beautiful autumnal afternoon in Africa. This is Safari Live.
Ready.
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
And a very, very special welcome to Hampton Oaks, Kingston Elementary and Mountain Horeb schools in the United States, as far as I'm aware. Now, you're all between 7 and 9 years old. I'm unfortunately not going to remember all of your names today because there's simply too many of you in those classrooms. My name, however, is James Henry, and I would love to hear from you during the course of this drive. You can ask me anything you like about Africa or South Africa or the animals that we're hopefully going to see. So you just ask your teacher, and she will tell you she will ask, and then I will do my best to answer. Our plan today for the next 45 minutes while you're on safari with us is to head down this way to a waterhole. Now, as I said, it's 86 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's pretty warm out here, and so hopefully we'll find something there to drink. Now, the last thing I'm going to tell you before I hand you over to my very brave friend Jamie is that Martin is on camera today. Show us your thumb, Martin. There it is. It's quite a long thumb, that one. Let's head across to Jamie now. She's on foot, wandering about, and she's going to find you lots of beautiful small things today.
And a very good afternoon to all of you, and welcome on our Sunset Safari. My name is Jamie, and the far braver person by far is Senzo, who is on camera with me. So he's out on bushwalk, and I have explained to all of our regular viewers that Senzo's here on his job interview, and this is his chance to try out the bushwalk, which isn't very easy because being the bushwalk cameraman, you have to have a backpack and a camera, and it's all a very, very different thing to what you might otherwise experience. But already we've found some interesting animals to show you. So James has said he's going to check the water holes. Well, I beat him to it, actually. Already we have a herd of wildebeest wandering about in front of us. And we've been very lucky in that this particular herd of antelope have been hanging out around the open area outside of our camp for the last few days. And so we've had a chance to watch them, and they really are quite strange animals. So for all of our school kids joining us, welcome. Don't forget to send through lots and lots of questions, because we only have a brief period to spend with you, and we want to try and teach you as much as we possibly can about the amazing animals that you're looking at. So this herd of wildebeest consists of a whole load of females and their babies from the beginning of, when would it have been? Around about December time. Beginning of December, they would have had their wildebeest calves. And we've got a whole group of them. I can see 1 or 2 babies over there. And we're going to see if we can sneak a little bit closer. And while we go off in search of things to find on foot, Brent has found one animal that we definitely don't want to meet this afternoon.
Well, Jamie's correct, but we found more than one. We found about 150 to 200 of them. And a big welcome to Hampton Oaks, Mount Horeb and Kingston Elementary Schools for your very exciting live school safari. And we're sitting about 50 feet away from, as I said, about 200 Cape buffalo. So these are not water buffalo. They're not American buffalo. They don't even look like them. These are Cape buffalo, and they are incredible animals and very important animals here. Now, not only are they like a big lawn mowing service, they also fertilize as they go. So they're a very important species, and it's very nice. We haven't seen a big herd of buffalo in quite some time, and they've wandered in during the day, and I've actually been tracking them since I've been out this afternoon, and it's quite nice to catch up with them. Now, one of the exciting things about having a big herd of buffalo around is there's another animal that really likes buffalo. It likes buffalo more than we do, and that is lions. It's one of the lions in this area's favorite foods. So quite often for the last time we saw a herd of buffalo, Vim, I think mine must be 3 or 4 months. On Djuma. I've seen one on Cheetah Plains, but on Djuma it must be a good 3 months since I heard of buffalo. Jan is wondering how many animals are in this family. Well, they have a big family, so it's difficult to say how many of them are related. So the way a buffalo herd works is you will have the majority of them will be females, sub-adults and young, and there'll be a core group of big bulls. Let's try find a big bull. That will be the breeding bulls, and they will travel with the herd and also will help defend the herd against buffalo. Now, against lions. So I'm going to just try get around the light a little bit so we can get a bit of a better view, and I'll try show you the difference. Well, I will show you the difference between a big male and a female's horns. That's the easiest way to tell the difference when you're looking at them like this. Okay. Oh, that's a young bull. Now we're trying to find a nice big old bull. Oh, there's an old boy in front of us for him. Oh, he's moving through, but we should walk through. Come out from behind the bush, mister. There we go. You can see his horns. They're really hard all the way to the center. That's called a boss. And Ryder was wondering, why do buffaloes have horns? Well, one of the main reasons, Ryder, is to fight with each other for girlfriends. And the other reason is to defend against lions. So there's a female. You can see her horns aren't hard all the way to the middle. They're soft, and it's made up of hair. Now, can you believe that all horns are made up of hair? So even antelope horns and deer horns are all compacted keratin, and that is the same thing as our hair is made out of. So the buffalo's horns are used in defense and in fighting amongst each other. Now, Joe is wondering, how are the buffalo here different to the buffalo in America? Well, your buffalo are actually bison, so they're completely separate species. Now, they also live in big herds, but they've got completely different horn and head structure, and of course they've got long, thick fur, because you get very, very cold in America. We don't get very cold. The coldest we probably get is about 30 or 40 degrees Fahrenheit during our winter months. So we're quite spoilt. We don't get very, very cold at all. Now, I was trying to see if there are any small babies. Now, the small babies will be kept in the middle of the herd, protected by all the other members. So that's one of the ways buffalo keep the babies protected from lions, is that they will all circle around the young ones. And so you must think, even if you're a big animal, big apex predator like a lion, approaching a wall of horns like that is not going to be too fun. Now, sometimes people who are not used to Africa get a little bit confused between buffalo and wildebeest, but the buffalo is not an antelope, but Jamie's got an antelope called a wildebeest to show you.
And a buffalo is not only not an antelope, it's also much, much, much bigger than something like a wildebeest, and also far more dangerous to people on foot. So I'm not at all scared of the wildebeest that we've been walking around, but I would be more worried about a buffalo if I were to encounter it. Harley, you want to know what the lifespan of a wildebeest is? Oof, I have to guess, Harley. If I had to guess, I'd say probably at the most around about 15 years in the wild, and that would be quite an old wildebeest. I don't think they'd get much older than that, but that is a guess. I don't know exactly what the oldest wildebeest is. You'll probably find that they could live much longer in captivity. Now, I mentioned that all of these wildebeest in front of me were females, but if we have a look over there, you can actually see there's the male at the back, and he's following along behind the females. And the reason that he's doing that is because it's nearly time for wildebeest to start mating. So what that means is that they have a special time of year, when the females are ready to mate with the males, and they do it all at the same time so that they have their babies at exactly the same time. So remember how I said that this herd had a whole load of little ones? Well, they were born all around the same time, around about the beginning of December, and that's one of the ways that they help to keep themselves safe. So if there's a hungry lion that comes through, it might catch 1 or 2 baby wildebeest, but it won't catch all of them. And I can see some of them, they've gone this nice dark grey colour of the adults. And sorry, Alex, you've asked a question, but I couldn't quite hear what Rebecca asked. It was something about what wildebeest have. Ah, there we go. Alex, you want to know what defense does a wildebeest have? Well, Alex, what you're looking at is one of the fastest antelopes of all of them that we get out here. And not just the fastest, it's actually one of the antelope that has some of the best stamina of all of them. So a wildebeest is kind of like a marathon runner. It can run and run and run and run very, very far. And if that doesn't work, then it can also kick, it can also use its horns, and that's one of the reasons why female wildebeest also have horns. So it's not just the male wildebeest that have horns, the females also do as well. And that's because they live out in the open, so they can't really hide away from the predators. They're not really camouflaged, are they? You can see them very, very clearly, but they have to have horns in order to be able to defend themselves as well. Now you can see that these wildebeest, you can see I'm not whispering or anything like that. I'm just watching them, and that's because they know I'm here, but they've got used to people walking around the camps. I think it's time to leave our wildebeest to snack peacefully. I think I heard an elephant somewhere in the distance. We're going to go and see what else we can find and send you back across to Brent and the wildebeest's much, much bigger, confusing ruminant cousin.
Well, we're still with this beautiful big herd of buffalo, and there's one having a really big scratch. Oh, has he finished scratching? No. So of course there's lots of ticks and other ectoparasites that irritate the animals out here. So they don't have hands like us, so they can't pick them off. So when there's a convenient little tree, it becomes a good scratching post for buffalo. Yeah, look at you. Looks like you're really enjoying that. So you can hear a little and I'm trying to spot what's making that noise, but we can't see it at the moment. But there's some birds that live on buffalo called oxpeckers, and they also help remove those ticks. But Spencer's wondering, why do buffaloes live together in herds? Well, Spencer, safety in numbers is the answer. Well, there's a couple of things. If there's more of you, you've got a better chance of being able to fight off a lion. And secondly, if there's more of you, you've got less chance of being the lion that will going to be the lion's dinner. Now, Alexandra's wondering, what do the buffaloes eat? Now, they are what we call bulk grazers, Alexandra. So they're like mobile mowing units. So they eat grass. And they very importantly, which I'll show you just now. There we go. She's giving us the evil eye. There we go. Now, if we look in an area where buffalo have been through, here's a good spot. everyone. Sorry about that. We are live in the bush, so sometimes we do have a few little technical problems. So we were chatting about how big a buffalo's feet are, and let's have a look. There we go. There's a perfect example. Now we can have a look there where the buffalo has walked through its own dung. Now what that's done is those big hooves have dug into the soil. They've pushed the grass seeds down into the sand, and they've also added a bit of fertilizer. So, and buffalo are what we would call a keystone species. So they're a very important species in the ecosystem because they fertilize and help put the grass seeds deeper in the soil. Oh, there's another buffalo that looks like it's ready for a scratch on a tree. No, she's decided against it. Oh, it's quite nice to spend time with the buffalo herd. As I said, oh, there's an oxpecker right there. So there we go. That's the bird I was talking about a little bit earlier that makes lots of noise when you're around a big herd of buffalo. So they eat ticks off the buffalo, and not only do they do that, sometimes they can actually be a bit of a pain. What they do is they will actually keep scabs open, so almost like vampire birds. But it sounds like James has got another bird to show you.
These are very, very special birds, everybody. They're called weavers. And those are Mrs. Weaver. So 2 Mrs. Weavers. And then if we go just down from there, you can see Mr. Weaver. And you know what? Unlike us in the human species, Mr. Weaver is much better looking than Mrs. Weaver. You see that? See how bright and yellow he is? And look, he's got a red eye. Now that tells us or gives us a very good clue as to which weaver he is. We get lots of different kinds of weavers, and that one you can see has got a black mask, so he could be a masked weaver. But we get 2 different kinds of masked weaver, and the village weaver's also got a mask. So which one is he? Is he a village weaver? Is he a lesser masked weaver? Or is he a greater masked weaver or southern masked weaver? And what we look at there is the eye color, and we can see that his eye color is red. Now, if we then look at his back, has he got any spots on the back of his head? Well, he does a little bit have spots on the back of his head, but I think that he doesn't have spots on his back. And so he's not a village weaver, he is a masked or southern masked weaver. Isn't that nice? I think that's very cool. Now, I'll show you his little home. His home is just down below there. There we are. He's got 2 little homes there. And I suspect that he didn't build all of them. In fact, I suspect he probably only built one. And that would have been built either by his friends or maybe by him. Maybe he didn't use them. And what's interesting, everyone, is that he builds that nest all on his own. And he does it every single year. He must make a new nest. And you know what? When he wants to find a girlfriend or a wife, he builds that nest, and then he takes her around and he says, well, do you like my nest there? And normally what she says is, no, I don't like it very much at all. And then she tears it to pieces to show him that he's not very good at building nests. So then he has to start all over again. And eventually he'll make one that's good enough for the ladies to accept. And then, well, then he can find a wife. And eventually they'll make new little weavers. And you know what? In just a few short months, in fact probably a few short weeks, he will go from being that bright yellow lovely colour to being as dull as the females are. In fact, you can see that starting to happen already. And that's because what happens is that as they go into the summer or winter time, they lose what we call their breeding plumage, and they become dull like the females. Now, Diane, you say, what do they weave? Well, just look at the bottom of your picture there. They weave those nests. Isn't that amazing? So he weaves all the long pieces of grass together to form that beautiful nest, which is safe from predators. It's warm inside for the little chicks. Aidan, you've just asked a very, very clever question. You say, why do the weaver birds build their nests in such thorny bushes? Well, Aidan, if you think about it, I don't know what kind of a neighborhood you live in, but out here, the neighborhood that these weavers live in is quite dangerous because there are lots of things that want to eat them. And one of the things that wants to eat them is snakes. And so if you build your nest hanging on the end of a bush that is very difficult for a snake to climb, for example, a very thorny bush, well, then it's a very safe place to live. So they build their nests on thorny bushes for security, and it stops things like genets and cats and snakes and various other things from getting up onto the bush and then into the nests. And if we go to the nest to the left of that, they're actually trying to get into it. Go to the... no, never mind. There we are. And you can hear them calling even now. Vzz, vzz. Just zoom out a little. And you can see the two birds sitting up above there. Vzz. That's a lovely call. It reminds me always of the summer. But of course, as you're going into summer, we are going into winter. Then there's a dove. Oh, the dove unfortunately has flown off. Never mind. I'm going to move a little bit closer to these weavers, because what they are doing is flying in and out of that nest. And I'd quite like you to see that. Oh, look at that. If we look at the edge of the water, there's a lizard. You see that lizard? Martin, do you see the lizard? It's at the end of the water, on the edge of the shore there. Yeah, to the left. There you are, you got him. Oh, look at that big lizard, everyone. That's called a water monitor lizard. And I tell you what, I think he's just had a nice meal. I think he's just eaten something. You see how fat his belly is? I think he's eaten something and now he's enjoying just lying there in the sun. Look at his long tongue. Isn't that amazing? See him sticking it out like that? Now, why do you think a lizard would do that? Why do they stick their tongues out like that? Let's see if he'll do it again. He's watching us. He can also hear another vehicle moving past, so he's watching that too. He's always constantly on the lookout for any danger. Let's watch his tongue. Let's see if he does it again, because I want you to notice the shape of his tongue. And for some reason he's decided he's not going to stick it out again. But the shape of his tongue is like a fork, so there are two ends to it. And I know this is going to sound very strange to you, but you know, a lizard smells with its tongue. Let me say that again. A lizard smells with its tongue. Now, you actually do a little bit of smelling with your tongue as well, and sometimes tasting with your nose. And it's a very similar kind of arrangement, where what the lizard does is stick its tongue out into the air. The air picks up the chemicals in the air that smell, and then it pushes them up through a gap in the top of its mouth, and somehow it manages to smell by doing that. It's a bit like you pushing your tongue all the way into your nose once you've stuck it outside, and then sort of smelling the end of it to see what's around. And that's much more sensitive than our noses. And look, just above it there, a gorgeous bird. That's called a laughing dove. Now, William, Victoria and Quinn, you want to know what a monitor eats. Well, a monitor basically will eat just about anything that it can get its little teeth into. Let's just have another look at that weaver. It's right close by now. And so they will eat small birds if they can catch them. They'll eat little things that come down to drink. Yes, they might eat some fish, but there are no fish in this tank, or in this pond. They will eat also eggs if they can get them. They'll eat snakes if they can catch them. They're very brave. They're not scared of snakes at all. And so they eat lots and lots of different things. Frogs probably as well. Maybe even crabs and that sort of thing. But they are meat eaters, and they will basically eat any meat that they can find. Isn't that nice? That's a very special sighting. And there the laughing dove, you can see, a bit nervous to come down to drink. Because look what's looking at him. Now, I think it would be unlikely that the water monitor could catch a dove like that, but it's not impossible. So I think that dove will have to be careful. And why it doesn't just choose another place to come and have a drink here, I don't know. See how he's looking at the lizard, thinking, that doesn't look too good. Now, Angel, I think you could probably answer this question on your own. You're looking at the lizard and saying, how does it camouflage itself? Well, look at its colours. See, it's got a little bit of yellow and gold, quite a lot of brown, a little bit of black, and the rest is a kind of dull yellow colour. Now, if that lizard was to walk into the grass, it would become almost invisible, because it disguises itself by being the same colour as its surroundings. That's the basic way that anything camouflages itself. It makes itself look exactly like its own surroundings. There you saw the tongue coming out. Naturally now, it's put it back in, I'm sure. Come on, do it again for us. Long tongue, about the size of its head. Oh, and a wasp. Did you see the wasp there? Now that wasp, look, it's so clever. It's gathering bricks, basically. It's making a nest out of mud. So it's picking up little bits and pieces of clay and mud, and it will use those to make a nest. And you know what? It's not very nice, because what it does is it builds the nest, and then it kills caterpillars and puts the caterpillars inside the mud nest, and then it lays its eggs in the caterpillars, and the caterpillars unfortunately die inside the nest as like a sort of prison. So it's not a very nice way for them to go. Let's head across to Brent. He is still with those enormous buffalo.
Enormous they are. Look at that. And what I do love about buffalo is all the different horn shapes and sizes. Now there we've got a female who looks like she's got almost a full bow on top of her head, and next to her is you can see all the different shapes, sizes, wide, skinny, big, thick. It is incredible how much diversity. Now it's got a little bit cooler since we started, and now they're starting to head out on the feed. So they do feed quite a lot. They'll have a siesta during the middle of the day, and they'll have a siesta during the evening. Now normally at this time of the year, buffalo will drink twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. Well, Horeb School would like to know, are buffalo horns permanent, or do they just fall off, or can they be broken or torn or broken during fighting? They are permanent horns, so unlike antlers, which are what deer have, that fall off, buffalo's horns are attached. So inside that hair layer, that keratin layer, there is a bone and blood vessels, so it can be broken and damaged and hurt during fighting. There's some quite pregnant ones in there as well. That one who's just walking away from us now, she looks to be quite pregnant. There we go, that one there. You can just see a slightly more rounded belly. And you see all their tails swishing to keep the flies away. And they are about to get on the move now, and they'll start foraging, and they'll forage very slowly, and as they move towards the next waterhole. Now Madeline is wondering, are there babies in this herd? Madeline, I think there are, but I think they're right in the center of the herd. Let's have a quick squiz around to see if we can spot any babies. I spotted one or two sub-adults, but no small babies yet. Buffalo will actually give birth throughout the year, so there's a younger one. Oh, it's being shy. Let's just keep going around a little bit. There we go. That one's probably about a year and a half, 2 years old. Let's see if there are any smaller ones. Giving us the very typical buffalo look down their noses at you. Hi, buffles. So normally the babies will be protected in a little group of females like that, so that's why when they're not moving it can be quite difficult to see. There could be a baby sleeping in the center of all those horns, not thorns. Layla's wondering, what is the lifespan of a buffalo? Well, in the wild, they only live generally to about 12 to 15 years is the maximum lifespan. They've been recorded living up to about 20 years in captivity, but out here, it's not a very long life. The lions normally get them first. There we go, Jack. I just answered your question for you. Yes, they are one of the lion's favorite foods. And specifically in this area, a lot of our lions are buffalo specialists. So they'll actively look for herds of buffalo to hunt. And they prefer hunting herds because there's often young and old and females and babies. So it's a bit easier than hunting just a group of old, tough bulls. Oh, there's a little argument going on up ahead. Let's go have a look. So there's constant sort of rivalry between the different buffalo in a herd. So you have your breeding males, like this guy lying right next to us here with his big boss. Yes, you. And he's got a little friend next to him. So that guy's not quite in his prime yet, but you can see the difference. So if we look at the one on the left first and we look in the middle of his horns, you can see it's not that hard yet. You can still see there's a bit of hair, so he's not a fully developed, mature male yet, but he will get there. So that hair will harden. Now, if we look there next to him, that is a fully developed, oh, not quite, but properly developed on the sides. You can see how hard the boss is, and that is basically a natural battering ram that he can batter his opponents when it comes to looking for ladies into submission. Now, there's always social dynamics happening here. Let's just try. Oopsie. So, Jacob, Moheb and Chloe are wondering, am I afraid? Can the buffalo hurt me? In a herd like this, their first instinct is to flee away from us. So can't really hurt me here. But when they get old, the males leave the herds, and they are quite a big danger if you're on bushwalk, because they're a bit deaf and they like to sleep in thickets, and you can give them a surprise. Now, there is always a possibility that these animals can be potentially dangerous, but judging from their behavior, we've had no aggression towards us whatsoever. So no, I'm not worried that they're going to hurt me. Now, I think we're going to leave these buffaloes to carry on. We might try catch up with them a little bit later. I think they are heading towards a waterhole. But while we do that, it sounds like James has found some antelope.
Yes, we have some very, very special antelope, I think, because they are, well, pretty much our biggest antelope out here. And they are called Kudu. You spell that. I don't know how good you are at spelling. I'm not very good at spelling, but maybe some of you are better than me. It's Kudu. Kudu. And often in the local languages out here in South Africa and many parts of the world, U is pronounced U. So it's Kudu. And those are two female Kudu, cows as we call them. If you go to the left there, Martin, you'll see the ones just come out into the sun. And that's a beautiful picture. And they probably weigh around about 300 pounds, so they're very big. You can see her coat is very healthy. She's shining in the sun, and it's one of the ways that we tell whether animals are healthy or not. We can see that the oils in the skin shine off them. John Paul, you're wondering what my favourite animal in the world to see is. Well, you know, John Paul, I think out here my favourite animal to see is probably a wild dog. But sometimes it depends on how I'm feeling. Some days I feel like seeing lions, other days I feel like seeing elephants, and then those enormous big elephants make me feel very happy. And some days I like to see things like this kudu. But most of the time it's wild dogs, which are sort of like our wolves that we get out here in Africa. They don't look like wolves, but they behave like wolves. They're beautiful dogs, about the size of an Alsatian or German Shepherd. They've got big round ears. They're black and brown and white. Very, really beautiful animals. And I like them, John Paul, because they look after each other, unlike so many animals out here. Now, Kenzie, you want to know about the stripes on the kudu and why they've got stripes. So we've had some very good questions today, and that's another one. Well, Kenzie, those stripes do what we call break up the outline. Now, I want you to watch her as she walks behind that bush. Can you see a little bit maybe how those stripes sort of make it a little bit more difficult to see her? Now, you must remember that their predators are normally active in the night time. So something like a lion, watching that kudu moving through the bushes at night, would find it quite difficult to see. And that would be because of the stripes. It makes it confusing to see, is it walking left or is it walking right, away from us or towards us? And so that's why we think those kudu have got those lovely white stripes on them. They've just had a quick drink of water and you can see them disappearing into the bush again. It's still very hot out here. And then when it cools down, they'll probably do a little bit more eating. And certainly, if I'm going to be very quiet now for the next 10 seconds. And what you can hear is that there's not a huge amount of sound going on, is there? That's because it's still hot, and it'll get much louder as it gets a bit later into the evening. Now, Daria, you're wondering if kudu are like deer. Well, yes, they are a little bit like deer. In fact, they're very similar to deer. They come from a different family, but they are similar to deer. Deer, of course, get antlers, and the kudu out here get horns. The males get horns. And, excuse me, the horns don't ever fall off the skull, whereas we know that deer's antlers do fall off and they grow back every season. The other thing, of course, you also want to know if kudu hunt. Well, Daria, no, kudu do not hunt. It's very, very, very easy to tell if an animal is a hunter or carnivore or a herbivore, and you can see that from the way they are. A carnivore will look like a dog or it will look like a cat. It'll have some kind of resemblance. They'll have big sharp teeth for biting things. They'll have much more supple legs like a dog or a cat. Whereas a herbivore or something that eats grass or leaves or fruit won't have that. They'll look much more like a horse or a cow. They'll be stiffer legged. They'll often be a lot bigger. And yeah, I mean, you just can't, once you've noticed the difference between the two, you'll never make that mistake again. So a kudu doesn't hunt anything except leaves. Delicious, isn't it? Good. Let's move on. Those kudu have moved on. And Bo, you're wondering about whether kudu are the lion's favorite food. No, not really. I think the lions, it depends where you are in the world as to which favorite food lions have. But in this area, the favorite food of our lions is quite often Impala, which are our most common antelope. We see them quite a lot, and I think they'll probably get eaten the most. Also buffalo. So those buffalo you were watching with Brent, well, often the lions like to eat those buffalo. They find them very delicious. We're going to stick our heads up over the top of this area here and see if we can't spot something coming down to drink, because like I say, it is hot, but there's so much water everywhere because we've had lots of good rain. And so it's not very predictable where the animals are going to be. Oh, look at that! There's a hippopotamus. Now, Hagen, you're wondering about, just quickly before we answer any questions on the hippo, you're wondering about how the kudu defends itself against lions and that sort of thing. Well, Hagen, what it does is it runs away. They're very good at running. They're very fast. And the other thing that they do, of course, is they manage, because they stay in groups, to warn each other. So if they see a lion or they see a leopard or something like that, they make a loud bark. It sounds like this. Bow! Bow! And that tells all the other kudu in the area that there is danger and they must all run away. So there's a hippopotamus. And while we look at this hippopotamus, I think that Jamie's got something interesting to show you on bushwalk.
would indeed like to show you something. And what I'm actually looking at is just to bide a little bit of time before the elephants get here. We've just heard a report that the elephants were walking right up the road towards us, and we know that they're going to come and have a drink, so we decided we'd come and wait for them over here, and wait for them to come to the waterhole and maybe splash around, maybe have a bit of a swim and cool themselves down. But while we wait, I thought I'd keep myself entertained by looking for the homes of various creatures, and that's why we love being on bushwalk, because it's not just about the big things, it's also about the little things. And believe it or not, these funny little dots in the ground are actually made by a voracious type of anteater. So it's a type of insect called an ant lion. So it's called an ant lion because it's basically like a lion for ants. And what it does is it builds these deep conical pits. Sorry, I keep getting distracted by the bird that's calling. Black-crowned chagra. Anyway, so it builds these conical pits, and it basically, what it does is it makes a circle in the sand, and it hides in the bottom underneath the surface of the soil. And then, if you imagine that my hand is the side of the pit, when an ant comes crawling along, it starts to slip because the sand is so soft, and then it falls down into the pit, and when it gets to the bottom of the pit, the antlion's waiting there with these sharp, really strong jaws, and it goes gow, and grabs the ant and eats it. So those little pits are actually death traps for something like an ant. And you can usually tell if there's somebody living in them by just ever so gently knocking just a few bits of sand into the pit itself. And if there is an antlion living there, then it will start to flick the sand up and out of the pit itself, just to make sure that its pit stays nice and clean, and so that the ants will fall in and then it can eat them. Now, that is an antlion, and it's actually the baby of a particular type of insect that looks almost like a dragonfly. But it's only when the antlion baby has eaten enough ants that it will actually metamorphosize and turn into the adult antlion larvae. So that's just one of the things that we've been keeping ourselves distracted with. There's lots of birds, but I'm still waiting for these elephants. They're going to come here. It's the only water source near here, and Rexon, who is the person who comes on the walk with us and makes sure that we don't walk into anything big and scary by mistake while I'm talking to you, he actually saw the elephants coming up the road. So we're going to wait patiently because we've got such a perfect place, and we know how much elephants like swimming. There's another creature, though, that likes swimming, and James is with it now.
I like swimming as well, and I'm sure when it's hot where you guys are, you also like swimming. Let's take a look at our hippo. Oh, he just put his head under the water. Hippo are quite nervous, you see. I don't know why they're nervous, because of course they're very, very big, and so nothing can really hurt them. But I think they're nervous because, well, it's difficult if they're not in the water. Caleb, you're obviously very well informed. You say, is it true that hippo cannot swim? Look at that, isn't that wonderful? Caleb, a hippo cannot swim. No, that's absolutely true. But that doesn't mean that they drown. So, although they can't float, they can, and they sink to the bottom. I don't know if you've ever been in a pool and you've jumped up, you've pushed yourself up towards the top of the surface and gone underwater again. They do that sort of thing. They just sink a bit more than we do. But they can also hold their breaths for a long time. And this hippo isn't actually swimming. He's standing on the bottom. And so often they will sleep or rest in areas like they are now, where they're able to just stand. There, he's put his head under. Now, Mahed, you say, why do why do hippos have sharp teeth? Mahed, they've got sharp teeth because that's how they defend themselves. They fight with each other quite a lot, especially the big bulls, and, well, they need to be able to defend themselves, and so that's why they have big teeth. And, of course, the mothers will use their big sharp teeth to defend their babies against lions and hyenas, because at night time, there he is, he's back out again. At night time, they move out of the water and they go off grazing. And that's a time when they're quite vulnerable, which means that it's a little bit easier for things like lions to attack them. So the babies would be very vulnerable in the night time, of course, because they're very small and the lions are much bigger than they are. That bird that you can hear calling is a beautiful bird called a woodland kingfisher, going chip. There you are. Isn't that nice? See if it does it again. And you know, that's one of our favourite calls of the summertime because it means that it's summertime. But you can hear they're not doing it much anymore. And normally they call like that all the time. And the reason they're not anymore is because they're about to go heading off into the north of Africa to be away from the winter time. So they're going to have summer twice in 1 year. Angel, you're wondering how fast a hippo can run. Well, a hippo can probably run at about 45 kilometers per hour, which in miles per hour is just about 30 miles an hour. So they're very quick. They're much faster than us. And I bet you won't believe me when I say this to you. But I don't know if you know that the fastest man alive at the moment is a chap called Usain Bolt. He's very fast. And I think that a hippopotamus would beat him over 100 meters. Isn't that amazing? So Usain Bolt can run the 100 meters on a good day in about 9.5 seconds. Well, this hippopotamus could probably run 100 meters even faster than Usain Bolt. Isn't that amazing? It seems a bit ridiculous that such a huge, fat, blubbery animal could run the 100 meters so very, very fast. I think it's astounding. I'm going to carry on, or in fact we won't. Let's move away from the hippo and have a look there at some impala, because I was talking about the impala to you a little bit earlier. And while you think about those impala, let me just tell you, AJ and Joy, you say, I think, what do hippos eat? Is that correct? Oh, how much do they eat, and do they eat ants? They only eat, apparently, about 25 to 30 kilograms of food a day, which is about 66 pounds. Now, I know that sounds like a huge amount to you, but it's actually less than rhino, for example, which are the same size as hippo. And that's because a hippo, all it does all day is sit in the water, so it doesn't get very hungry. Those are impala that we saw at the other side there, and they will often hang around near the water because they like to drink water. They have to drink water. They can't run a great deal of distance to water like those wildebeest you saw earlier on with Jamie. So we've got a lovely peaceful scene going on here. Just lovely stuff. Right, we might try and see if we can't get slightly closer to those impala while you think about them, and give you a bit of a closer look. Madeline, are you wondering why animals hide in the grass when they are hunting? Well, Madeline, if I was a lion and I was trying to catch an impala, do you think that the impala would run away if it saw me? Would you run away from a lion if it was walking towards you and you could see it? Wouldn't you run away? Of course you'd run away. So the impala is the same. The impala and the kudu will run away from the lions and the leopards if they see them. So the lions and the leopards will hide in the grass so that they can stay away from their predators, from their prey, so that their prey do not see them coming. And I don't know if you've got cats at home, but next time you see your cat in the garden or outside, you watch how they move. They do the same thing. Especially if you have a cat that happens to like to catch birds. They hide in the grass to stay away from their predators seeing them. Alright, the very last thing I'm going to show you is something there called a crested francolin. There they are on the road. I hope you've had a wonderful time with us on safari, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day at school. We will see you next time.
And welcome back to this portion of our live safari, the rest of the sunset safari, now that the kids at school have had to go back to the rest of their school day. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon we are waiting patiently at the waterhole just outside the Voyatella Lodge. Please don't fall down in the dam wall. We're waiting patiently at the waterhole because Rexon tells me that he saw some elephants walking straight towards us. Now this would be such a perfect spot if they would just hurry up and get here. We're trying to work out, we think that maybe they've got distracted. Perhaps they stopped for a snack, maybe they found some water elsewhere. Somehow they don't seem to have reached us at the speed with which we expected them to. So now we're sneaking forward just to see whether or not they're coming down the road. We don't really want them to see us. We want them to not notice us at all. And we know on such a hot afternoon that they're most definitely going to want to go for a bit of a swim. And now it's just a question of waiting for them to do so. Now somewhere here, while I wait and know that Rex is going ahead to check, somewhere here was that baboon spider nest that Taylor found where she had her babies, but now I can't remember where it was. You think you'd never forget something like that? Well, since I seem to have lost all sign of the spiders, at least James has managed to find some other mammals for you. Let's go and have a look at what he's got.
Well, we found an animal for you. It's an impala. But that's not why we stopped here, because of course an impala is a fairly garden variety creature. And there we have a little warthog, a little piglet. And it has not been left in the care of the impala. It's got its siblings with it. And just behind the three little piglets is going to come the mother pig. Which of course reminds one of the great nursery rhyme, the little pigs and three little pigs, and their trials and tribulations with the big bad wolf. Now, in case you're wondering, my name is James Henry. It's nice to have you with us. The schools have left us, so we can speak in slightly more adult tones. There I am. Hashtag Safari Live is how you get hold of us. Ooh, there's very bright light in my eyes. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter is the best way to get hold of us. I'm sorry for the shadows that are moving in my eyes, but I don't wish to go blind today, if it's all the same to you. Let's go back towards those pigs over there. There they are. And they're probably going to wander down into the drainage, so I think we might just do the same. Try and get out of the sun. Well, they're thinking about it, but now they're thinking that they're a bit more intrigued by us. There we are. Oh, don't be such chickens. One of them doing a bit of show jumping there. It's quite nice to see. And goodness, you know, I've been away just for a week, and in that time, it's amazing how much more autumnal things have become. The birds have definitely ceased the summer chorus completely now. I'm surprised that these impala are feeling quite so sort of pleased with each other. As we know, of course, this is not their time to be friendly. This is when they will start to become very unfriendly with each other. Good. Well, I think our plan from here will probably be to head down towards, I thought we'd go towards Chitwa Dam actually, and so unless I hear that Brent is going to do the same thing, which will no doubt be relayed to me very shortly. In fact, I don't think I can take this car there. I don't think Wendy can go there at the moment, can she? Any ideas? I can go. Alright, let's go. Let's see if we can get down there. Jamie's sort of looking after the northern parts here. We'll head off towards Chitwa Dam and see what we can find there. strong smell of waterbuck in the area. No sight of waterbuck, of course. And for those of you who would like to know, we were in India for the last week. We went to sort of see if it would be possible to do a safari live type thing from there. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but certainly the wildlife we saw was spectacular. The people are very nice indeed, and so hopefully one day we will be able to bring you tigers, the great Indian one-horned rhinoceros, the Asiatic elephant, and various other fantastic Asian creatures. While I contemplate the vagaries of the African ecosystem, let us head across to Brent Leo Smith, who is currently at some water.
Well, we've got a key member of the African ecosystem right here, which is a little hedge to terrapins. And you can see who's been sunbathing the longest. And the guys who are nice and dark have just come out of the water, and the one right up at the top has obviously been lying there for quite some time. So we're at Red Dam, and of course this is one of Shadow's favourite areas, so we're just keeping quiet, we're listening here for a little bit, and there's a really wonderful little drainage system if you want to keep cubs up in that area. Of course, my name is Brent Leo Smith, I have VM on camera with me, and we're hoping to find some leopards this afternoon. But if we don't, it is a beautiful late summer's day. Oh, there's a little bird. What have we got bobbling down on the edge of that second spit? Let's have a look. Aha! A little sandpiper. Now, which one do I wonder? I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to get you to tell me. Who can identify that little sandpiper bobbing around on the edge of the water there? If you know the answer, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Who knows what little sandpiper is that? Now, you want to look at the eye stripe and also at the colour of the legs and also the pattern on the body. And something we've got quite used to since we've had the late rains is the sound of monotonous larks everywhere. But no sign of any leopards. So I think we're going to keep moving. I think it's time to check down into the Marakeni River. See if maybe Shadow hasn't found a nice cool place to spend the heat of the day. Now, of course, we're always checking quite carefully for tracks. And the chorus grass at this time of the year is just so pretty with the light coming through it. Not great to be grazed upon, but very nice to look at. Now, I have found Shadow quite a few times in this area, so fingers crossed that she's around today. This is also another favourite hangout of another favourite leopard of everyone's, Mr. Tingana. Ooh, is that tracks? Indeed, Shadow and cub tracks. Okay, I need to jump off the vehicle here quickly and just have a proper squiz to see where these go. While we do that, it sounds like Jamie's found something a lot bigger than a leopard.
Well, fingers crossed that Brent manages to find that tiny little leopard cub, but as he said, we have indeed managed to finally find something much, much bigger, in the form of two beautiful elephant bulls that are on their way to come and have a drink and hopefully a swim, because how special would that be? One of them, I'm trying to see, I think one of them's showing, no, it's not really too much must. as just he's secreting from his temporal glands. It's always important when you have the opportunity in this kind of a situation to just properly assess. First of all, not to assume that there are 2 elephant bulls, but also to see whether or not any of them are in a condition known as must. Now, at the moment, the wind is okay. It's touch and go. It's kind of blowing this way. I'm hoping it's not going to blow our scent towards them before they come and have a swim. And then, when they figure out where they're going to go from there, well then, I'll figure out where I'm going to go from here. Here we go. Come on, boys. Come and have a bit of a drink. I'm keeping my voice down a little bit. I'm obviously not shouting from the rooftops. There they go. Right down to the water's edge. And it's so interesting, you know. Obviously, Rexon is got some kind of ability to see into the future. Because he said to me at the start of this afternoon's bushwalk he wants to try and find a place where we can sit by the water and watch the elephants come and swim and drink. Senzo, if you come here a little bit and then just crouch down. Here we go. See, now they're coming straight into the water. Chasing each other, they're going to play in the water itself. Alright, Senzo, if you can crouch a little bit, just so that we don't disturb them in any way. Donna, you say it's so wonderful to see elephants on foot. It is, isn't it? It is one of the most amazing feelings in the world, and we're so privileged to have it, to share these moments with them. We're just keeping a close eye on them, making sure that they don't suddenly come and surprise us, but we've actually got the perfect position here. Exactly where. Come on, boy. There is actually no greater privilege than to spend time with giants on foot. There they go, into the water to have a drink. How cool is this? And we've got a view of the elephants splashing about from one perspective on the opposite side of the waterhole. And then we've got our position right here on the top of the dam wall watching them. From one view to another. You can see them gathering up trunks full of the water that they want to drink, making me somewhat jealous after our rather rapid sprint away from that area. I don't want them to see me and stop drinking while they do. Now, Trevor, you want to know how many gallons of water an elephant can drink? I'm really sorry, I can't do gallons. I actually have no idea what the gallon conversion is. A big elephant bull like this, I rate, could easily consume 20 litres, 40 litres in one go if he's particularly 30. Let's go over to James, see what he's got.
Look at that, everyone. That is the green-backed heron, and it seems to have caught itself what I think is a junior catfish. Isn't that fantastic? It just caught it as we came through here.
Cool, huh?
It really is very special indeed. Now watch out, swallows the whole thing, which means that by the time it gets into the gullet of that creature, or the bird, it's still alive. No efforts to chew, down it goes, and there it is, kind of going through the neck, and eventually it'll keep swallowing. Eventually it'll make its way into the stomach. It's still stuck there in the neck. There we go, through the crop, and now a little bit of a drink of water to help wash down our fish. Now that must be a very satisfying meal for a bird that size. I imagine it'll do that green-backed heron, well, probably for a day or two. That fish must still be alive. It must still be there. Still moving around in there, helping to wash it down a bit with a bit of algae and water. This is very special. So we're here at Chitwa Dam. That's where this is taking place. The great action that is the green-backed heron's kill. And you may just be able to hear a buzzing now and then. It's the cuckoo wasp. All right, let's go back to those wonderful elephants. They're leaving the water.
The wonderful Ellies that have decided to stop their swim and, in an interesting turn of affairs, come straight towards us. Oh, bad time to sneeze. Bad time to sneeze. It's okay, they didn't hear me. Sometimes you just can't stop it. And actually, they really just want to square up to each other. They've obviously, now that they've cooled down, there's plenty of energy left for playful shenanigans. You can see both of them frozen, sizing each other up. And now pushing up against each other. I was hoping they're going to do this inside the water. It's always fantastic to watch young bulls fight like that in the water. This is something that I think they get enjoyment out of. I don't know, there's some people that theorize that animals like this aren't really playing just for fun, but I think they are. Sometimes it gets a bit out of hand and turns a bit aggressive, but that's like teenage boys roughhousing with each other. And you can see the one at the back is much, much larger than the one in the front. He's older. He's got much larger tusks as well. And walking straight back towards Warthogs Lodge. Perfect. Away from us, so we don't have to move out of their way. That couldn't have been better if we'd tried. Thank you, elephants. And you can see everything in their body language perfectly relaxed, tails swaying, something that we've spoken about many times during elephant sightings. I'm just going to shift around, sorry. I'm going to duck around in front, because we can actually, now that they're slowly moving away, we can actually just move and stand and watch them for a bit. Ah, Rexon's had an idea. He's suggesting that we go and watch them from right across the dam wall. It's actually a very good idea, Rex. So while we navigate around, you can have a view from the dam camera. And actually, we've got a really, really stunning position here. I'm going to be very reluctant to do anything else this afternoon, just so you know. Oh, there's the bright glare. Whew. That afternoon sun is very bright off the water. An awesome perspective. Stopping to have more water to drink. Oh, I'm sorry, I was in the middle of answering a question about gallons and how much an elephant can drink. And I'm sorry, my gallon conversion is not particularly... Sorry, Trevor. My gallon conversion has never been one of my strong suits. That and miles, for some reason. Feet I can do. Pounds I can sort of do, roughly. Fahrenheit I could even do. And hello to Ben, who is 8 years old. Ben, I hope you've been having as much fun as we are having. Now, Ben, you want to know how long are elephants' trunks? Well, the amazing thing about an elephant's trunk is that it can actually make it shorter or longer depending on how it's feeling at that particular moment. So an elephant's trunk is probably from right at the top to the tip around about 1.5 meters normally. So 1.5 meters, that is, and I'll stand up again in a sec once these guys have moved on. 1.5 meters is just over 4 feet, but remember they can stretch and contract and stretch and contract it. Let's go back over to James, who's found a feathered friend to show you.
Look at this, everybody. That's a beautiful European roller. Probably sitting only about 25 meters from us. And they can look so dull sometimes, but then when the light catches them nicely like this, oof, it's just beautiful. Stunning, stunning creature. And of course they too will be heading away from us at some time fairly soon. These birds actually occur in India, believe it or not. Not at this time of the year. And that, I mean, there are at least 3 or 4 different shades of blue there. And I just love the way that their colours sort of juxtapose with the sky. I suppose we're at the wrong angle for you to see that now, but... What a bird. Anyway, they will be looking for grasshoppers here. We're sitting on Chitwa, where they've done some quite extensive, shall we say, landscaping. In other words, they've mowed these clearings, and that will have, well, it will have killed a number of little insects, but that's okay, they'll all have been eaten. And also, it would have just made it that much easier for something like this roller to catch the grasshoppers that they like to eat. Just because it gives them the chance, of course, to see slightly better. What is that I can hear calling? Oh, you know what it is? Can you hear it, everyone? I think it's a Sabota lark. And I think that it's doing a whole lot of mimicking of other birds. I'll see if I can spot it. Oh, there goes the roller. Let me see if I can spot the lark, because we don't see the Sabota lark often. But they're one of the very best mimics that we have here. Tiny little thing with a white eye stripe. But I can't see it at the moment. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Let us continue. I think we'll probably try and make it all the way to Cheetah Plains. I'm not sure we'll get there, but we'll see as we go along. I was rather hoping for an elephant or 2 on these clearings. I see none. It's actually a drongo. I'm looking at it. It's a drongo making that mimicking call. It was initially doing a chagra. Not very well. Alright, I believe that Brent Leo Smith has been quizzing you desperately about birds, and he now would like to give you the answer and put your fears and worries to rest.
Well, it seems like it must have been quite a difficult one. So well done to Feline and Janet, who are correct. It was indeed the wood sandpiper. Now, the 2 that are most easily to be confused with are the top 2 here. The wood sandpiper and the green sandpiper. Now, I said look at the color of the legs, and I said look at the eye stripe. So that wood sandpiper, a very distinct eye stripe and very yellow, dull yellow legs. Now, the green sandpiper, greenish legs, and also that eye stripe is not very, very distinct. So there we go. Whoopsie, there we go. Yeah, there we go. So a wood sandpiper. Now, we've been very slowly circling the area where we last had Shadow's tracks. So far, no tracks coming out. I'm quite convinced that she's in this block. Unfortunately, this block is quite big. So I'm just going to slowly loop down to where we had the last tracks, and then I might take a walk from there. Just on the edge of the drainage, there's a couple of tiny little sort of ravines that would be ideal spots to stash a cowbell. Well, who knows, maybe she's got a kill inside here. So just going very, very slowly. I'm also making sure I check up on all the nice marula trees just in case that she's got a kill up in the tree. There have been some elephants through here as well. It looks like quite a lot earlier today. This is one of those important spots to check. And no sign. Oh, is there a sign? No, false alarm. Okay, we're going to keep sneaking through here, checking very carefully. While we do that, let's go back to Jamie and those pachyderms.
Well, the wonderful thing is that our pachyderms are still here. Sorry, being interrupted by crowned lapwings chasing each other around, making a terrible racket. Our pachyderms are still here. One is slowly but surely grazing his way towards one of the guest rooms at the Voyatella Lodge on Djuma. And then the other is actually slowly looping his way back towards us. And keeping an eye on him, making sure. As Rexon said, we're both expecting to see more elephants coming down to drink. I was hoping that we might see them swimming. These two young boys didn't seem to really want to get up to too much. Have a quick drink, have a sort of brief stroll through the waterhole, and then back to eating. Back to the very serious business of eating if you're an elephant. Let me just see where our other boy's gone. He was just here. Where have you gone, mister? I don't want him to sneak around. Hold on, Senzo, hold on. Let me just make sure that he's not just around the corner. No, he's not. Sorry. There he is. He's popping out there. Just wanted to make sure he hadn't ducked down into the dip or something like that. There he is. There's a perfect elephant sighting. I'm almost tempted to just sit here and wait for the rest of them to come. That's what I'm hoping is going to happen. That the rest of them are going to start making their way towards this waterhole. So one thing about summer though, well, the end of summer, is that there are lots and lots and lots of water, or there is lots of water about. There's lots of puddles and lots of pans where the elephants could go and drink. But they do like to swim, which is why they like the larger waterholes as well. This has been a stunning sighting. Here we go. He's grabbing up soft bits of grass. And this is actually the perfect place for them to come and feed because the food is nice and soft. So all of the grass species that grow in these sorts of areas are very, very palatable. And I'm sorry, I keep needing to sneeze again. I don't know why, all of a sudden. And there's definitely something at Djuma at the moment, or the last few months, that's been making me sneeze every time I come here. Ooh. And you can see, those of you with keen eyes would have also have noticed that there's actually several antelope there as well. One male Nyala, and is that a female there as well? Looks like it. Yes, a couple of females. Careful, ladies. Look at him. His ears out, thinking about chasing the Nyala and then deciding that he actually can't be bothered. Whew. Sorry, I'm still trying to contain the sneeze that is threatening to explode at any moment. Lovely. And add to that all of the wildebeest that are still gathered around the Voyatella Dam. And you've got a very pretty picture indeed. There they all are. They're probably going to wander back onto quarantine. Sorry, I was still trying to battle my sneeze here. Oh, excuse me. I'm struggling with my sneeze. Oh, there we go. Okay, it seems to have gone away a little bit. I have a question about whether or not, or how, elephants and hippopotamus get along. While we watch him, he was leaning up against the branch, having a bit of a rest. Still not getting the name. Sorry, Rebecca. And the question is about hippos and elephants. Oh, it's Geeky Beth again. I'm sorry, Geeky Beth. Now I've got your name. Sorry, Geeky Beth. I was struggling with that for a second. Geeky Beth, it's your question about hippos and elephants. They don't get on particularly well at all. And what usually ends up happening is that the elephants that go swimming tend to, if it's quite a small waterhole, they actually tend to terrorize the poor resident hippos to the point that the elephants make a game out of it as our elephant disappears. So they actually kind of chase the hippos around. And one of the sighting that springs to mind with an interaction between hippo and elephant was the hippos being chased by the elephants at Buffalo Pan on Cheetah Plains. And the hippos would duck under the water, and this one elephant bull just would not let it go. And I couldn't quite work out what he was doing, because initially he was diving under the water, and I realized he was searching for the hippo. But then he went up onto the surface, and he started charging at random places, but he couldn't quite work out where the hippo was. So he'd run towards one place and go brrr at the water's edge, but there'd be no hippo. So then he'd run around to the other side and go brrr at the water's edge, and it still wouldn't work. So then he started pushing trees into the dam to try and intimidate the hippo. And the hippo, of course, was under the water the whole time. And apparently that elephant's attention span didn't quite stretch to the 5-minute breath-holding period that the hippopotamus is limited to. It seems as though both of our Ellies have deserted us. Reese, while I sneeze away and struggle my way through, Reese, you want to know if elephants ever suffer from allergies in the same way that humans do. There's our Ellie. And the answer to that is, I don't think so. I have seen them get that waxy build-up around their eyes when there's lots of dust around, and I've seen them get runny trunks. So they've got quite a thick mucus lining around their nose or the inside of their trunk to protect it from dust and other things going up in there and infecting their sinuses, because as you can imagine, an elephant's sinus infection would be a very serious thing indeed. Nothing like a human being. It would be far, far worse. I'm just going to go shift because he's actually having a dust bath. Let's go and see if we can get a good view of him. Don't stop, boy. They often do that after they've had a swim, and just stop and throw clouds of dust over their wet skin. I think they love doing it. He's just going to keep moving. Okay, he's moved off. The Impala sprinting along. Abigail, funnily enough, having watched the elephants in the water, yes, absolutely, elephants can swim. They actually swim really, really well. And I don't know if you've ever, presumably you haven't actually seen footage of them. They doggy paddle. They doggy paddle their way through deep water, and they use their trunks as snorkels. And it's one of the things about the specialities of their lungs, which is something that I only learned while working for Safari Live, which is the fact that the pleural edges are attached to directly to the rib cage. There's no pleural fluid in between. There's no pleural fluid in between the membranes, which is really cool because it means apparently it looks as though they can cope with high pressure in terms of expanding, inhaling and exhaling, which makes total sense if you think about a snorkel effect with their trunks sticking up above the water. So they do use their trunks as snorkels. Or in the case of this elephant, and I can just see clouds of dust going up over the sort of the tops of his shoulders. I could just see clouds of dust billowing up into the trees as he throws them over it. Trunks are amazing things, the way they pick up bits of sand, they toss it over their shoulders. They really are amazing. Pulling down a branch and then picking up a toothpick-sized branch as they go along. And I'm really sorry, I've been trying to put this off, but apparently Brent has vanished off the vehicle and James has lost signal, but I'm in desperate need of a tissue, and if I don't find one, I'm going to sneeze all over the place. I don't think we actually have one, which is most unfortunate. We have a first aid kit, which is going to mean rummaging through Rexon's backpack. Rex! Wait, I can figure this out. There must be a tree I can use. I don't really want to wipe my nose on a tree, though, because of pepper ticks. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's not. And they're all thorny here. Okay, well, that definitely won't do as a tissue. That definitely won't do as a tissue. It's an acacia tree. Rex is telling us we can go and have a look. We can go and watch the elephant while I rummage through his backpack, if provided I can catch him. Oh, look at these elephant tracks here. Beautiful networks along the ground. Where's this Ellie? He should just be round this corner. He's moving off, unfortunately. That's marvellous news. Even better in my desperate search for tissue. Rex, do you have any tissues in that bag? Can you have a look for me, please? That would definitely help me. That would certainly save me a huge amount of bother, and certainly for you, because my microphone sits in my hat, a huge amount of sniffing. And now we all wait patiently and somewhat awkwardly as Rex looks for a tissue. What else can I find you whilst trying not to look at the camera? Scrub hair dung will do. Oh, good. How marvellous. The wonderful news is that James has made it to Cheetah Plains, so you don't have to watch me suffer any longer. I'm going to send you across to him.
I'm sure it's much better not watching Jamie suffer, racking with those sort of consumptive sneezes of hers. Hopefully, of course, as the season turns more to winter and less to the polliniferous summertime, well, it'll be a bit better. They're on the road. Can you see it, Martin? A female Couqi Francolin waits for this. I nearly said waits for the sun, but of course what I meant was waits for the evening. There it has disappeared into the grass, of course, hoping that we hadn't seen her, knowing that we had, and therefore looking a little bit ashamed about the whole affair. Now there's still the golden head sticking out. Can you see it there, Martin? That might be the male. Just sticking its head out. Keep going, just at the edge of the shadow. No, to the left. Yeah, if you brighten up the picture there, you'll have it. There we are. Gorgeous. Eating grass seeds. Now that, of course, is what Jamie mustn't be doing. She'll sneeze horribly if she tries to stick her face in amongst the grass seeds like that. And just about any Francolin, while this is probably the prettiest, any Francolin, when you look at their colours, if you look at their plumage closely, you will notice the most amazing detail, and I think that they're some of the most beautiful feathers that there are out here. Yes, they're not quite the iridescent blues and purples of the starlings or the greens of the parrots, but they're still very pretty indeed. Oh, Tony, you say, what male bird mating display impresses me the most? Well, out here, I think it cannot be anything but the red-crested corhan. The red-crested corhan, I don't know if we've ever got the mating display on camera. We've had the territorial display, which is the suicide display. But what the red-crested corhan does is it flicks this red crest up from underneath the back of its sort of head, and then it does this sort of elaborate ballet dance around the female who carries on feeding as if she doesn't notice this ridiculous display. So that is my favorite out here. But worldwide, and I've obviously never seen this live, but there's a bird in Australia called the bower bird, which builds itself a bower, which is like a sort of tunnel almost, in which it hides all sorts of things, including bits and pieces of human detritus that it finds, clothes pegs, or in one case, you must have watched it in Planet Earth too, a sort of plastic red heart, and they fastidiously clean around and in their bower and construct this amazing thing of twigs, and then they dance for the females, and it is the most amazing thing to watch. So I'd say a bowerbird, or some of those birds of paradise with their quite astonishing displays.